To extract the concrete value entered in the URL when this page is loaded, Next.js gives us a special hook which we can use. A special React hook which we can use in functional components. It also has an alternative for class-based components, a higher order component you can wrap around your component, and I do discuss this in my full Next.js course, but we can ignore that here. Here, instead, we import from Next, to be precise, from Next/router, which is a sub-package of the Next package, which exposes routing-specific functionality. And here we get the useRouter hook. It's a regular React hook, just not one built into React, but a custom hook built by the Next team. And we can now call this hook inside of the detail page, simply like this. If we do that, we get access to a router object, and on that router object, we then get certain pieces of data and certain methods which we can call. Now, for example, we get methods for programmatic navigation, but we don't need this here, so we can ignore this for now. But we also get access to the values encoded in the URL, so to the concrete values of these dynamic path segments. And getting access is easy. On this router object, we got this query property, which gives us access to a nested object. And on that query object, we then have the identifier, which we chose between the square brackets as a property name. So in my case, news ID, because that's what I entered here as a file name between the square brackets. And that will then hold the concrete value in the URL for this dynamic segment for which this page was visited. So if we now just console log this for the moment to see what's in there, if I save that and go back and open the developer tools, if we reload, we see undefined first and then something else. Now we see two logs here because that's how useRouter works. It runs immediately when the page is first rendered, and at this point it doesn't yet know what's in the URL, but then once we have that information, the component renders again, and we got that concrete value. That is just how that hook works. So the second time it executes, the second time this component is evaluated, we got something else, which is the concrete URL value I entered here. And if I have this course is great, then we would see this here being logged. And that's how we can get access to the concrete data encoded in the URL. Now, why is this helpful? Well, we could, for example, use this now to get our news ID like this. And then if we had a database, if we had some backend API from which we can fetch our news, we could send a request to the backend API here to fetch the news item with news ID. That's what we could do here. I will not do it here because we'll soon dive into data fetching and data storage, and we'll see different approaches we can use there with Next.js. So we are going to take a look at that in detail in a couple of minutes, but we could do this here if we had such a backend API. Now, we don't have it here because that's just a simple dummy app to get started with the file-based routing system, but that is how it would work. And that's how we can build dynamic pages which work for different pieces of data and then can do different things based on different pieces of data. Here we could fetch different news items from a database based on the different IDs for which we visit this page.